got one life, for crying out loud. You might as well just give it all you got.
The Deej, Dan Jourdan.
Your daily dose of reality. Your daily dose of the Deej.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I need my daily dose of the Deej.
I make the news. I don't watch the news. I'm a leader.
The Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Listen, don't worry how to sell, baby. Worry about why people buy. And it's fun.
You don't need a 5-hour energy. All you need is the Sales Energizer.
Just when I think it's not going to be as fun as the one before, each one gets successfully better. What's the word I'm looking for? What's it going to take to get you into this car today, huh?
And now, please welcome the Sales Energizer, Dan Jourdan.
Boom! That's exactly it. Do that. Let's do that. My man, Chris Stone, where are you? You're just hiding from me over here. Here we are trying to have
Okay, you want me on the screen today. Okay.
Well, I mean, we have to introduce the topic.
Okay.
What are you putzing around? What is this, your first day?
It's the first time I knew that it was a duo, not a solo show, but here we are.
No, it doesn't. You do your magic of what we're doing out here, but no, I got it. We have to do the preamble. You know, here it is. It's after the day of giving thanks and all that stuff. I mean, there's stuff to take care of. I mean, there's housekeeping. You know, what happens is it's like the Monday after Thanksgiving. Everybody says, "Oh, how was your Thanksgiving?" But it's like, you know, Tuesday happens also, and you may not have spoken to the person on Monday. So, you got that going on for you. So
yeah, it's like, how long do you say Happy Thanksgiving? I mean, pretty much after Thanksgiving, you don't say Happy Thanksgiving anymore. But when it's a Happy New Year, I mean, that could go all the way to February, right?
Yeah, and how soon do you start saying Merry Christmas?
I mean, I think every day of the year you should be able to say that. I mean, you should be able to celebrate. You know.
Every day.
I like to live every day like it's Groundhog Day, actually. So happy Groundhog Day to one and all. Both of you who are viewing Dan Jourdan live right now.
Yes, we got two of them. Hey, you know what I just realized? Because you made me switch rooms, that I didn't take my plug with me. And so we may just completely go kaput in a couple of seconds.
Well, you know, every day on the edge of our seat on Dan Jourdan.
Yeah, that's right.
Here,
so
every Wednesday.
We have to live with that type of pressure on your life, you know, that nobody else understands is what's going on. So how was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
It was fantastic. It was fantastic. Yes. It was everything that I had hoped it would be and more, with the exception of my football team on the day of Thanksgiving didn't win. But my football team on Saturday definitely won the biggest game ever. Michigan Wolverines over that team down south. And so that was good. And, you know, celebrated with the family. Both boys were home, and so that was nice. Having both boys
Did they
home.
cook? Did anybody cook? Who cooked?
My wife. She's just like the best cook ever.
I
try to do what I can do, you know, try to do something, but I can make a cup of coffee and maybe a pot pie in the oven. That's about it.
Oh, well. Like a homemade pot pie? I made that. That's fun. It's good. I mean, pot pie is the greatest thing to make.
100%.
I mean, it's like, it is the perfect food.
You could just find something in a refrigerator drawer and be like, I'm putting it in a pot pie. I mean, it could be anything.
Put the thing on it and you throw it in the air fryer. Are the air fryers not the greatest thing ever? I'm telling you, this time of year, an air fryer, a Vitamix, and an Instant Pot, and you're like a chef.
We should be on Amazon right now. I miss those days when it was like, you know, you can air fry anything. You never know what you're going to throw in the air fryer when you watch.
That's right. We did liver one time. Remember we did liver?
I remember watching it. Yes.
Gosh, I've become a big fan of liver. You know, I mean, it's really just, it's like, first of all, it's like the best nutrients ever. You never not feel good the day after. I mean, you may not feel good while you're eating it, but the day after you eat liver, you feel stronger and more
You're a
powerful and want
superhero.
to take over the, yeah. I mean, and it goes down to the primeval times. You're like, feel like you're going inside the crevices of a bull and pulling out and just eating, you know, it's like you're getting all that, you know, primal energy that comes from you. I'm
The
telling you.
crevices of a bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously?
Yeah,
That,
the
like, I never
internal
thought. I mean,
organs.
every time we go live, Dan, you say something I never heard
Well,
before, and crevices of a bowl is like T-shirt
well,
worthy. But here's the
yeah,
thing about liver. If liver was so good for you, why aren't more
yeah.
people talking about how good it is for you? Like that's, I mean,
Well,
clearly it does not taste good. I mean, come
it's
on.
just not liver. It's just all the organ meat, and organ meat gets a bad rap.
It
But
really
I
does.
mean, yeah, I know. But you
Maybe
know,
for good reason. I don't know. There's some
I,
guy on YouTube, TikTok, all the, Snappy Book or whatever, that is like his whole diet is nothing but raw
yeah,
meat. Have you
yeah. I've
seen this
seen that
guy?
guy, and he's ripped. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he's a monster with that.
Do
Yeah,
you really? I don't know.
well, I mean, listen, it's so much. Listen, these foods, like the internal organs, like tripe and like all these, all these kind of the internal stuff. This is the scraps that were left for, like, you know, when the Jews were slaves, or when anybody was slaves. I mean, you
Mm.
didn't get the good stuff; you got the scraps, and so they became delicacies in
Like
those
chitlins is another one, right?
yeah, chitlin, which is basically tripe, you know, but it's deep fried.
Guts.
Yeah. And so all those things, it became cultural and stuff. Actually, little bit of knowledge, because you may not know this, but I used to be a
Knowledge
butcher.
coming.
Yeah, Papa used to have a butcher shop. He bought a butcher shop. This is a guy, I never cut a piece of meat in his life, but the butcher shop was for sale and it was within walking distance of the house. And so he says, you know what? Let's do that. Bought the place. And so started being a butcher with all this stuff. So I learned that spare ribs, which are really expensive now, these ribs that you want to get to,
Oh
make
yeah.
all these things, used to be the stuff you would throw away. Like we would just cut it out of thing and just toss them away. Then the Chinese started making spare ribs, like they sell spare ribs in the Chinese restaurants,
Mhm.
and they're delicious. And they became such delicacies that they became the most expensive thing going out there. So the stuff that you throw away, if you use it wisely. And in that same vein, I came across some ideas. I was talking with somebody, and it was like just a normal conversation, and we were talking about something, and I was saying something about myself, and I used the word. I said, "This is really retarded of me," but and then I went on to tell this story, and apparently I found out that is now called the R word. You ever
Yes.
heard this?
Mhm.
You're like, you can't say that word anymore.
Mhm.
And I'm like, and so, the person corrected me,
Yeah.
not rudely.
Sure.
But I asked, I said, when did that come about? I may have missed it because I was alive this whole time. And she said that in her handbook of the company that she worked in, it
Mhm.
actually spelled that out. Basically, words you're allowed to use
Yeah.
and words you're not allowed to use.
Mm.
Words. And so I started thinking about this whole situation. I used to have I do speeches and I have these gigs at these larger companies. And sometimes it's great. There's 100 people. Everything's great. That was awesome. I learned so much, whatever. And then quietly in the back, in the end, towards the end, there was somebody would come up to me and say how offended they were.
Yeah.
So one person is totally into it and somebody else like deeply offended. And so I got this idea. And I said, the Deej needs to make a new book. So here's the new book, and I'm trying out some new material there. So if you are watching this, or anybody watching, and you find yourself getting offended, please comment, because I want to see what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Just go ahead and tell me, and ask for some things to do, because the world kind of has changed. And the way we interact with people kind of has changed also. And if you're in sales, this is a really good thing. And that's what I'm going to attempt to talk about today. What do you think of that, Chris Stone?
Well, I think it's let's say risky, but I mean, this is Dan Jourdan, Jourdan Live.
I got nothing. This is why I didn't want to have a guest, because I didn't want, if it's
what am I, chopped liver? See how I did that? It came full circle.
Yeah, that's right. Bring it back to the chopped liver. That's
I'm no guest. Who am I?
Well, you are the producer extraordinaire.
Well played.
Yes, but I didn't want anyone to be associated with something that I could harm in their reputation. And so that's why this is a solo act, and we'll see where we go from here. So this is the name of the company and the name of the book. And tell me your original, we'll talk about your thoughts. And if anybody has any thoughts about this, go there. Ready? So, selling to woke companies and other weak individuals. Hold on.
You have my attention.
Okay, there you go. Okay, and so what you get in this book is 9 surefire ways to thrive in selling your services into an environment that is dominated by people who have been taught that they are socially, morally, and intellectually better than you are. So that's the, do I still have your attention?
Attention, yes. Other emotions, yes.
Okay, good.
As well, yes.
All right,
and I think you will definitely grab the ire of folks for sure with that, if that was the intention.
Yes, of some people. But that's what it all said. Who is this for, you ask?
Who is this for? As we're freezing up. We're audio.
Okay.
Are you back? You're back.
I'm back. Okay.
Who is this for, you ask?
Yes. So here it is. Who is this for? It's for salespeople, consultants, and job seekers who are having difficulty getting high-paying gigs without losing all their self-respect and dignity. because it is, see, it used to be that when somebody of 45 or 50 or someone is finding their next career and going in jobs, we realize there's a shift, because now you're interviewing with someone who could be your child, who could be your kid, someone who's much younger, much less experienced and all that, yet they have a greater amount of pull or influence on whether or not you move to the next level. But that person is not just that. They are not just that younger person now with those. They are that person who has been taught that they know things that you don't know. They know words like we spoke about before that you're not allowed to say, that you don't realize is right or wrong to say. They know their limits are much shorter than yours at this time. And there's 2 things you can do in that respect. You could either acquiesce and change into their world, or you could do the things that I'd like to talk about in this book. And I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from me rereading, and I say rereading. I've never actually finished the book, though I've been trying to do it for the past 30 years. And that is Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. And anybody out there of a certain age, I'm sure you've heard of this book. If you haven't, Viktor Frankl wrote this book. He was in a concentration camp, actually several concentration camps, started with Auschwitz, managed to survive, and recounts the entire gut-wrenching experience of horrific loss of he talks about this kind of 3 phases. And these 3 phases are something that in different levels everybody goes through, but them so magnified that it's life-changing. The first phase is basically you're going there and you're trying to hold on to reality. You don't realize what's going on. It makes no sense to you. Cattle cars of people going into a place and then lining you up, and just by the flick of a wrist, go this way or go this way, is deciding whether or not you're going to work to death or you're just going to go to the gas chamber right there. I mean, it's just this. Think of that. Your life depends on somebody who's, just had a piece of corn in their tooth and they're picking it out and they say, go that way or go. The fate that just happens is just inconceivable. Where you are at that moment kind of just happens. And so your first thing is you're trying to hold on to reality. You're thinking, He talks about a case where he had a manuscript because he was a doctor, and he said, I know you're taking all my clothes and you're taking all my baggage and you're shaving me, all the hair off your body, not just off your head, all the hair. So you look like a worm. And he still asked, hey, can I keep these papers? Because it just doesn't make sense that you would do that. So at first you try to hold on to reality. Second, and very quickly, 2-3 days, the acceptance of what's happening to you, of like, this is it. I just got to do this and work by these rules, though there are no rules. I just have to accept the fact that for whatever reason, if somebody, stubs their toe, they might kill me. Like for whatever, it's because they did that or whatever, or somebody else that far, he fell down and I looked for too long. That's a death sentence. So you have to kind of accept that that's happening. And then finally, and understand that fate takes it away. And then you understand the realization of the one thing they could never take away. And the one thing you can never take away from humanity, and they said it, nobody got out of a concentration. The good ones never made it out of the concentration camp. The survivors made it out of the concentration camp. The good ones, the people who had compassion and kept that for too long, never made it out. And that's why they never talked about it, by the way. Not because because they didn't want to tell you, because they were animals. People were animals at that time. And they had to be. But the realization that they could never take away, he talks about his wife, who was just 24 at the time, his wife, that he were married just a short time. But the love that he had for his wife and just the idea of love can never be taken. And it's what can keep you grounded enough to remain some semblance of hope that whatever happens is for the right reason. And I see too many people getting offended because I used the wrong word. And I have nothing else to define these people as other than the woke. And everything I've learned about this, Chris Stone, come on for a second. But everything I've learned about this and how this came to reality. I hate to be making this so serious, so I need to bring you on here just to check.
You need me to juggle or something?
No, just to check your facial expressions for a second. So just there you go. All right, there. So how I came to my of how to deal with this and the realization. Everything happened to me in the bathroom at Kroger. And it was simply this. And then you could leave whenever you want. But I just needed to see your face for a second because I'm sick and tired of looking at myself because it got too serious. So I was in the bathroom. Now, when you go to a supermarket bathroom, you kind of expect it to be disgusting. I mean, I kind of expected it to be disgusting. So I go in there and it was less disgusting than I thought it would be. Oh, by the way, I'm trying out a new joke. Ready? It's a little one-liner. What do you think of this? Ready? I just got finished reading Great Expectations, and it wasn't nearly as good as I thought it would be. No?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I kind of knew that was coming.
Oh, really?
But,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm working on some stuff.
Good delivery, though.
Yeah, you think so? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Sure.
All right. So, I'm in the bathroom and I saw there was a guy next to me. And so I said to the guy, I said, this is amazing. This place isn't as disgusting as I thought it would be. And he kind of laughed and he said, funny. He said, I was thinking the exact opposite thing at the same time. And so this is what happens. You make an immediate conclusion, and the conclusion is, people have different perspectives and they see things differently. Make sense? I mean, that's what it is. And then and so I call that person the astronomer. The astronomer sees the stars. You look at the stars, say, oh, look at all the stars that are over there. Boom. You made the conclusion. I know that star is going to be there tomorrow. It's going to be over there next day. I got to figure it out. That's the astronomer. Okay. Next, and what happens is you ask why. You say, why does this guy think that this is disgusting and I don't? And you realize there's a million reasons in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people, myself, say, there's a million reasons. I don't care. I'm going to stop thinking about it. I call that person the scientist. The scientist is just thinking about the whys. Here's the thing. A lot of people, salespeople included, will get stuck in the why. They'll stay there forever, even though they realize that you'll never really know the answer. Why is somebody racist? Why is somebody, what's in their background that's causing them to act the way they act? Why is somebody doing this? And you never really know the answer. So some people can get lost in there, and salespeople get lost in there too. Why is this person not buying? It's the perfect thing for them. Why are they not letting me see them? Some people could stay there forever and never move past. Next is the industrialist. The industrialist says, listen, I figured out. I conclude this is exactly the reason why. He thinks it's the stars are there because, the gravitational pull of things going, very good. And I'm going to change my mind now. With the guy in the bathroom, I'm just going to realize people come from different perspectives. And when I go into the next call, I'm going to realize I need to ask this person. I'm going to change myself so I can work with this person better. I'm going to change when I look at the sky to figure out when I'm going to see there. I'm going to do it. I'm going to change myself. That's the industrialist. Then there's the fourth. And the fourth is why this book was written. It's somebody sees the stars are in the sky, recognizes, they say why, they don't like the reason why. And instead of changing themselves to move the telescope, they want to complain and change everybody else from taking care of that. That's the woke in my mind. That's the woke people who are okay, understand the world is how it is, but instead of changing myself to deal with it, I'm going to change the whole world. If my problem is climate change, I'm not going to move inland. If I think the seas are going to rise, I'm not going to move inland. I'm going to keep my house exactly where it is and tell everybody else they need to pay to build a big seawall around my house. That's the difference. Some people want to take care of themselves, and some people want other people to take care of it for them. The problem is it's a losing tactic. It's very easy to change yourself, and it's very difficult to change somebody else. Near impossible. So, with that said, how do you deal with it when you are trying to sell into a company that has this type of attitude and has this kind of like idealistic thing that we are going to deal with people that do this? Because there's a big issue now with this. What do they call it? EST or ESP or ES something? Where basically companies will only invest in other companies that are quote unquote socially aware, according to their thing. So you have to comply in order to do business with them.
If I can I interject?
Yes.
I know this is a solo episode, but you did bring me on the screen. So
please, I want you to interject.
How much, I know we're equating life in general and the way people are in general to companies and to sales. I get that. Yes. But don't you feel like there's more at risk? And this is the reason why these companies are, I don't want to use the word mandating. Like you talked about, the person that you knew and they were giving you things that you couldn't say, that you weren't allowed to say, or rules. Yeah. I think if you say those things and you sign or you agree and sign to not say those things, which I'm assuming this is some contractual thing, you're talking about free speech, right? So you can say those things, but if you work for a company, you're going to have things that are going to happen if you do say those things that are not good for the company, that are not good for business. I worked for the music business for years and years and years. I never had to sign anything that said, don't say something or, you can't, there were conversations about things, but like you just can't say things like that and expect, whether it's anti-Semitism, whether it's sexism, whether it's all of the isms, right? You can't do that because as a company, it's not good for business. That's what's at risk, right?
Yes.
And so as people, I think generally it comes down to intentions. So your intention when you said the R word was never to hurt anyone. I know you. You're not someone that would want to hurt anyone. You're an amiable person in general, not just because you want sales or you want business. It's just the person that you are. And I know that, but other people who don't know you hear that word.
Yes.
And I think they don't know your intentions, right? But they make assumptions.
Right.
And their assumption may be is that you're not a good person, right? Because you said a particular word that irked them or whatever. But I feel like if you knew that that word was something that offended someone, that hurt someone, you'd go, okay, I don't want to hurt anyone, right? And so there's, we use the word ignorance and we toss it around, and it's become but I think we evolve as people and we say, listen, if there's lots of things I don't say, and there's lots of things that, you just like, people just need to maybe not make assumptions, have conversations and say, listen, here's why saying that is potentially a bad thing for you, and then explain it in a constructive way. And that's how things evolve. But I think what's happening is it's just this. And when that happens, and when it comes across with those assumptions, there's a battle. And it's like free speech versus, you can't tell me what to say versus this hurts people. You need to understand this. And so, I think there's where I'm coming to is from a silo perspective, humanity gets a certain way because they make assumptions. But I think from a business perspective, it comes down to those things, but it also comes down to risk, right? And you can't, businesses are afraid of whether the word's canceled or whatever, they're afraid of doing that. So they're just like, listen, we're going to have to just tell people that they can't do these things and make it a mandate and make them sign something. And that absolves us from a human resources perspective if we just go, you're out of here.
That's exactly right. And to your point, I was using that as a very small example about things. And of course, I'm not going to say anything. And it makes sense. The fact that it made it into the handbook is probably a problem, but because it could just be, you said the conversation would be great. But the reason why people don't have that conversation, the reason why this challenge is happening right now in communication with all people. And you're right. I started this by talking about love. They can't take away that. Right. The first thing about you selling into the woke culture right now is you have to become, you in particular, you salespeople, you people that are entertaining this, even though you don't know what's going on, you don't know what's right and wrong, is to get to the point where you are unoffendable. You need to be unoffendable. Whatever anybody says or does, human beings tend to judge themselves by their intentions, because your intentions are always good, but judge others by their actions. And so this happens by, you have to start. If you want to live in a world where people get offended by everything, you need to learn to become unoffendable and teachable. And that's how you have to entertain it. So when you come across a situation that you get in trouble, for instance, I had one time that someone was teaching one of those courses on I don't know what they're called, but it was, how not to be a racist. And everybody goes into the companies and basically they tell you as you're sitting there, you may not know it, but you are, racist, intolerant, homophobic, Islamophobic, xenophobic, bigoted, and transphobic, or what have you. You have those tendencies about you, and we have to beat them out of you. And I spoke to this woman who was teaching the class. I wasn't in the class, and I told her, I said, listen, when I was growing up, I was taught to be colorblind, judge people on the content of their character, on their merit, trust, expect the best from people, and, don't just certainly by their appearances. And she said to me, and she was the teacher, she said, well, when you're saying that to me, you're making me invisible, because, all of my history of my past, you don't know anything that's going on with my past. And it's true what she said. I didn't know what's going on with her past, but how could I be expected to know? And so I said, well, isn't that, your problem to deal with? I mean, well, why are you giving that to me? Well, apparently that was more than she can handle, and she threw her hands up and walked away. So when you talked about having having that discussion, I'm fully wanting to have the discussion. Please teach me. But when you throw your hands up, that's a problem. So here's what you need to know about selling into woke companies. Most people are not that way. Most people are and I'm not saying that these are not decent, good, fun-loving, kind people. They're not, but most people are not that offendable. They're just following the rules because of something you said, Chris Stone, which is the ultimate thing that you need to remember, is that all this comes out of a state of fear. Fear of losing your job, fear of losing a customer, fear of offending somebody, fear. And the challenge with that is when people live in a state of fear, they wind up doing things, walking on eggshells and doing things minimally as to not put your head above the crowd so it doesn't get chopped off. One of those things in Man's Search for Meaning that I was talking about is the worst thing, they'd put you in, a group of people. The worst thing was to be on the outside of that group. What you tried to do is stay on the inside. You tried to be unnoticed. You tried not to make eye contact. You weren't a human. You were a number. And the type of culture that wokeism brings is that fear. You never know where it's going to come from. So you being this is great news, by the way, for you as a salesman. You being the salesperson need to understand that other person in that company has that fear and has that worry of getting noticed and of getting in trouble. So your job as the salesperson is just to alleviate that, is to see them as a person, is give somebody attention and let them know that you appreciate them. And people, more importantly now than ever, people eat that up. They need it and they crave it. They're hiding so much within their company as to not stand out in a bad way for fear of any kind of reprisals, that you come in as the savior and the white horse. And I'm saying, men and women, you need to use your sexuality. You need to do like the opposite that's allowed. Go in there and schmooze and charm and do that whole things that's so used to be so commonplace and now is so antiseptic in the workplace. You need to go there and bring life back into it. And while it may not work for everybody, but it might, and people might shun you away or say, you can't say that, or you can't do that anymore. You can't, then you that's your opening to come in and say, got it. Listen, I'm learning all this new stuff. Tell me about it. And more than likely what they do is they'll shake their head and they say, listen, this is just how they are today with this management. Yeah. They never want to do it. But all of a sudden you've created an inside friend. It works like magic. And what you need to do is take control of the situation. This is you leading the way. And that's what salespeople need to do. Salespeople don't kind of manipulate and force people into something. They lead them into making the decision and the conclusion that's right for them, that's good for them. And that's what they want. People right now, the people that are in this kind of new culture that's happening now are very comfortable with guardrails, what's right and what's wrong, go this way, don't go that way, don't be too loud to be so. They're very comfortable in that lane. So you get to direct them within that lane. You get to come in. And if they shut you down and say, this isn't right, we're not doing it, there's no problem with you going over their head. Go to the CEO, go to upper management, because those people there are still concerned with merit. They still do that stuff, and you be that. So here's the secret, the best secrets to sales. Understand that you need to be the best at what you do, your product, your service, yourself, and buying it from you is better than any other option. And when that happens, they will figure out a way to use you. It's just like everything else in sales. With this new culture, it still works the same. Everybody still wants the best. You want the best. You want the best, heart surgeon if you're having a heart attack, but it's even small. Even if your pipes break, you want the best plumber. You want the best value for the plumber. You want everything the best. You be the best, and they got you no matter what's going on there. As long as you are, Chris Stone, unoffendable, because there will be people that hate your guts. There will be people that will be just talk about you behind your back. There will be people that do that stuff, but that gives you the power. Back in those concentration camps, and I don't want to allude that I was there, family member, but I certainly, it's not like I have intimate knowledge with this, but in reading this book, it's impossible not to think about it. They didn't hate. These guys would beat them, the guards, and they would scream at them forever. I mean, they couldn't lift their finger. They were starving to death. They couldn't do all this stuff, getting yelled at, kicked, beaten, and all this stuff. Viktor Frankl wrote, I never hated them, because when I hate them, I knew that they had power over me. And so you as the salesman need to just understand that gives you the power. That gives you control by living rent-free in their head. Chris Stone, have I offended you yet?
No, but I can imagine that there's a lot of people that do. It takes a lot to offend me.
Okay, good.
And I think,
and I do it. I'm telling you, I do it out of love. There is no joy in living life afraid. There is no joy worrying about.
I 100% agree with that.
When I'm on a Zoom call and somebody doesn't put their face on there, that tells me something. That tells everybody something. That's a person that can be controlled and manipulated. That's a person that is worried about something. And it's not just their looks. It's not just that they didn't put makeup on that day, or it's not just that you're dressed well or all that stuff. That's somebody who doesn't want to show not show your face. You're giving somebody an advantage over you. Always, as a salesperson, always, do a Zoom call, put your face there, or force an in-person meeting. Everything works better when you're in person. Force an in-person. A lot of people don't want in-person meetings anymore. They've been taught not to do that. No, we don't do that in person anymore. Well, I do that. I do it in person. If you do it in person, you get a better deal. You got to get people in person, and force them into understanding. I was with my I had a big account. I lost a good big account for something that I did. My value systems are, I have gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, courage, and kindness. But accountability is big. So I was working with this company, and I put together they were putting together a marketing plan, but it was taking forever. So I just did my own stuff. And so I put it together, and I sold a ton with this thing. But one of the competitors saw the stuff and sent it to the biggest customer, and it hadn't been approved to that biggest customer, what have you. And so they're like, hey, you can't do this anymore. You're done. See you later, potato. Breaking off all ties, whatever. Yeah. My fault. I broke the rules. See you later, potato. All right, I'm done. I was with my daughter's boyfriend yesterday, and we're getting something to eat. And
Vincent?
Yes, Vincent. Yeah, good old V-Dog. And I said, so Vincent said to me, he goes, how do you get over that? It was a decent account. He goes, how do you get it so quickly, with all that stuff? And this is me after reading, it's perspective. It's just like the guy in the bathroom, to him, it's a big deal to lose that. To me, I got to make a few more phone calls and we'll get another one and we'll replace it. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to let that. And to the level, to the, the way to overcome and succeed in sales is not to, how well your skill and tactics and, your tenacity is and all that, as much as it is the speed with which you can get over the downsides, the speed with which you could get punched in the face, lose a big account, lose a big account when it's your fault, get yelled at, ruin somebody else's day, all those awful things that you did, the speed with which you could spin around and say, yesterday was gone, I've learned from it, I will not let it happen again, and just forget about it. That's the strength that one can get and achieve, but only after they've experienced deep pain and sorrow and worry and doubt and hopelessness. And I believe that there's a generation of people that haven't been allowed to fall off their bicycle, get punched in the face, be taken advantage of, get pain and loss and discomfort enough to know that the human spirit can rise above nearly anything. You can take it, you could win. And I'm not saying that when you're going into a company and you see somebody like this, it's your job to change them. Nobody likes, unasked for advice. I got it. But you showing your strength in their face by smiling and, walking away and moving on, and don't let their saying, yeah, you don't even know that. What's wrong with you? You can't say that. I told you about that story that I said, who does a guy have to sleep with to see Mike O'Leary in this place, right? You know that? That was a big deal in their company. It could have been a big deal. It went, oh boy, this guy's not allowed in here. You're barred from the place. Big deal. I'm still going to go home and eat that night. It's not going to hurt me, and it's not going to hurt you. It actually makes you a better person. Most salespeople of old know this. When you, every office building, something had a no soliciting sign on it. If you listened to that no soliciting sign, you would literally starve to death. Like if you told your manager, I can't go in that place, there's a no soliciting sign. Nobody, and so I was taught once, why does a person put a no soliciting sign out there? Is because they're so afraid of being sold. They're so afraid of their skills in being able to fend off, a salesperson coming, showing their wares. They're so afraid of it. And so you go in there as a nice person, and nobody pays attention to those. In fact, salespeople used to be taught, when people used to do this type of selling, have a couple of go-to lines when they said, "Didn't you see the sign?" Didn't you see the sign? I know. Actually, no. But let me ask you this: who would be the person I would need to, or whatever? Yes, I did see the sign. I don't really pay attention to that. Would you like me to leave? For somebody who's afraid, doesn't even have the courage enough to kick you out, because they don't want to be rude, and that's a rude thing. So they don't want to do that. People do. So I always love no soliciting sign. Even better is a no trespassing sign. When someone has a no trespassing sign, I'm expecting to go in there. It's great. I got no competition. Nobody's going to go into a no trespassing sign. When I say no trespassing, I'm expecting, hot cocoa and cookies.
Maybe handcuffs by the time the afternoon's over.
I went to a place once, and this was when I had a staffing company, and I walked in, and they had these stairs, and I remember I knocked on the door, and I said, the person answered the door, and I said, "Hey, I just want to ask you, when you do use staffing companies, how many people do you normally need?" or something like that. And No, that wasn't the question. Here's the question. So, what's the one reason why you guys use staffing companies? And she says, actually, we don't use staffing companies. Actually, we never do. And I said, well, I was just asking for just the one reason. No. Stop that. Let me backtrack. I'm gonna do this right because this was a good story. Oh yeah, what's the one word you would use to describe your staffing company service? And the lady said, we don't use staffing companies. And I said, that's great, but I asked for one word. And she says, leave. Which is the greatest thing ever. Not only did I leave, but I had a story for the rest of my life. And by the way, she has completely forgotten about this. She has I was just a blip in her life. It was just a complete nothing, but I got a story for the rest of my life. And I feel better about myself because I was going into that. And so I'm saying when you're going into, hold on. Is it 12:50 already?
Yes, it is.
Time flies when I'm blabbering. I'll tell you that.
So,
right.
Dan, what would you say to a salesperson who is looking for every little sliver advantage over someone else, right? I mean, this is competition. This is business. And so, you've been trained for years to handle objections. And for them, one of the potential speed bumps, let's call it, is, avoiding certain things, avoiding things to say, kind of going back to what you're saying. What would you say to someone that just is like, I need to get this business. I have to do this.
Yeah.
I have to do this because this is how I'm going to be a more successful salesperson.
Yeah. Well, again, you want to be a more successful salesperson, be a more successful person. So of course, follow rules. Of course, don't be overly rude, but if things don't make sense, if you're in a position where you ask to do something and the only reason why you're being disallowed to do so is because of, well, that's the policy. Well, then it's appropriate for you to value your family, your success in your life over that particular company, or that's not right for you. It's worth it for you. You will grow as a human being, grow as a salesperson, grow as a husband or wife, grow as a better friend by sticking to your values of gratitude, forgiveness, accountability, courage, and kindness, by your values than you are by their policy. And you'll grow exponentially sticking to what is right and what is good, and not just because it's policy. This fad will go away. Your dignity and your success and your self-improvement will last forever. There's one thing about people who are really firm on this type of wokeism, that, for lack of a better term, right now, and that is they are they have very high self-esteem, impossibly high self-esteem. You might think that you're right or wrong about something, but they know whether you're right or wrong about something. They know how right they are. Very high self-esteem, undefensible. It's one of those things, people who are religious, or people who have gone to church or temple or, the Western religions, they're always kind of questioning their faith. Well, this doesn't make sense. If that was true in the Bible, then why did this happen? Why? You're always kind of questioning their faith. The people that don't question at all are atheists. Atheists know what is right and what is wrong, what is real and what is true and what is not. It's the thinkers, the free thinkers that try to make sense of situations and try to overcome without hurting feelings and always trying to lift other people up. That's what I want you to be as the salesperson. That free thinking, creative sort that you are, to try to achieve the best solution for the customer. And to the point where they are so emotionally engaged with your solution, knowing that it's better for them, that they ultimately buy it. Knowing how to manipulate people is not appropriate sales. And you get a transaction, but you'll never get a customer. When I was a stockbroker, there were people that were just making oodles of money, but they never really had customers. There were the people that would say, you're not going to buy that. You're going to pass on this. Let me tell you about the people that pass on this. The only people that earn money by passing are NFL quarterbacks. And I don't see a number on your jersey. Now let's go ahead and pick up 1,000 shares and run over the end zone together. Okay. Those people would sell. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you work on somebody's emotions long enough, you'll get them to buy some stock. But they'd never come back for the second and third transaction. They never made a customer. The reason why people buy from you are the same reasons I've said before. It's because they like you first. They trust you. They believe you and your credibility. And then they'll have a desire to do business with you. Your job as a salesperson is to be likable, which is the opposite of being woke. What do you think of that, Chris Stone?
Bold.
Well,
like my coffee.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's the answer to the question. You want somebody to who has to work in this situation. Your dignity is worth more than policies. It really is. And it will last. It will last, and it'll be better off for you. That's all we got today, my friend.
All right.
All right. Well, I appreciate you putting up with me. I always feel like I'm and listen, I could be wrong in everything I say. I really can. But I don't want anybody to think that I have a bone to pick with anybody. I'm very happy. I'm very happy being told how wrong I am. And maybe in the future, somebody will do that. If they had the courage. I actually respect people more that will we do have Patrick Tinney's awesome. Mayor Patrick Tinney. So Patrick Tinney, I do videos every day. And some of them are good. Some of them aren't so good. Some of them he agrees with, some. But if he doesn't agree, whatever, he calls me and say, hey, let's talk about this. The coolest thing in the world. What a good guy. He's really smart too.
He is.
All right.
He's a good guy.
Chris Stone, thank you so much for putting up with me every week. I'm going to see you on Monday on the Crispin Cruz show.
Oh, you are the guest.
Yes, he's going to
of
send
the pipe.
He's going to send me an agenda, and he says
and you will promptly ignore it.
Yeah, I'll do that. All right, Chris Stone, I'm going to talk to you directly because no one else is here. I wish nothing but good things to happen to you for the rest of your life. Eat well, live long, and prosper. Say hi to Sonia and the boys for me. Go get them today.
Go get them.